Hi, welcome to 90% Knitting. This is episode 186, and I am Lisa, your host, also known as Fibernymph on Ravelry and Instagram, mostly. Sometimes Plurk if I manage to get there, but that's not too often anymore. Anyway, today is Thursday, January 14th. We are 2 full weeks into 2016 already. That seems crazy, but it is what it is. I want to say thank you for being here. If you are new, thanks for checking out the podcast. I know we've been getting a lot of new people who are new to podcasts in general, which I think is awesome because podcasts have so much to offer, and there's one for everybody. If mine isn't your cup of tea, there are plenty more out there that might be, and vice versa. So anyway, and if you've been watching for a while, because guess what? This month marks the beginning of the 6th year of this podcast, which is kind of crazy. I started it back in January of 2011, and here we are. Unfortunately, most of those earlier episodes are no longer viewable because they were on Blip, and Blip has since gone down, and they are no longer stored anywhere online. I actually don't remember what episode is on YouTube as the first one that you can see, but trust me, those earlier ones, you're not missing anything. Someday maybe I'll re-upload them, but it's not high on my priority list at all. Anyway, I have a few people I want to say hello to because I did not get to do this last time, although looking at the welcome thread, I don't know that there was anybody new last time anyway, so I didn't maybe miss out, because I think Samantha, Tracy, and Damaris, I believe I did say hello to 2 episodes ago. So in case I didn't, hi to the 3 of you. Thank you for introducing yourselves, but I think I already did. This time, however, we had June from Pennsylvania. She's actually just south of Pittsburgh here. And Barbara, who does not list where she's from, but she said hello as well and introduced herself in the welcome thread. So welcome to both of you, and thank you for watching. Okay, let's get started because I've got a lot to talk about today. I have a finished object, which is the hat that I showed you last time that I had started as my movie knitting hat. I needed something simple to work on when we went to see the Star Wars movie, and I have since finished it. So I will show it to you. It's a beanie, and you know me, I'm not really too into beanies. However, I did this, it's worsted weight yarn. I did it over 100 stitches. Oh, it's 100 stitches exactly, but I knit it on those 100 stitches. That's what I meant. It's actually not super, super tight. That's what I usually don't like about beanies, is how tight they are, and they kind of squeeze my head, and my hair feels like it's just being smashed. I mean, obviously my hair is being smashed, but it's looser than most beanies that I knit. And I think having done it on 100 stitches as opposed to, you know, like 80 or whatever, or 88, whatever I tend to do, I think was a good choice. It's got the folded brim and the 3 colors, which I totally did all of this out of scraps, my worsted weight scraps. This is all my Fibernymph Dye Works Cozy Base, dark brown, peacock blue, tree frog green, knitted on US 7s. It's just a plain vanilla hat. There is really no pattern. I did put in my project notes how I did it, stitch counts and things like that. So if you're interested, you can look there. I know I did have somebody asking about that. No, I'm not going to publish this as a pattern because it's really just a plain vanilla pattern. There's a million of these hat patterns out there that exactly like this. I'm not publishing it, but it's in my notes, so there you go. I wasn't knitting it for any purpose other than the fact that I needed something simple to work on at a movie. I didn't think I would keep it for me because, like I said, I don't tend to wear beanies, but it actually doesn't feel too bad on me. I could give it away to somebody else, or I may keep it because these are all my yarns and I could use it as a table sample too. So I may do that. I haven't really decided, but it's done, and it's more yardage for my year. Let's see, what else have I worked on? I worked on the bright sparkly rainbow socks, which I don't know if I've shown you recently. I can't remember if I knit on those last week or not to show you, but I don't think I had. I know this one was not done. So I finished the tube of the first one. I have the marker in for where I'll put my afterthought heel in. Again, I'm not no waste yarn. I've embraced the afterthought heel that you just put in and snip, and it's awesome. I love that one. So I will do that. I love how this turned out. These are some crazy bright colors on sparkly yarn. And this is the one that I'm knitting out of the Knitting Color sock blank that I got at Maryland Sheep and Wool last year. So this is what's left of it. And I have started the second sock as well. And this is almost the entire cuff, maybe another ½ an inch, and that'll give me the whole cuff, and then I'll be working on the part that will be the foot. It's going great. Now, what I usually do when I knit socks, afterthought heel socks, I finish the first sock, and then I go ahead and I put the heel in right away. Then I start the second sock. But since I'm working from a sock blank, I wasn't sure what color I wanted to use for my heels. And the first sock ended on this bright pink, which is very similar to the color in the area where the heel is going to go in. And I don't think I want to use a similar color. I think I want it to be a contrasting color. So I figure once I get both sock tubes knit, then I'm going to have quite a bit of this yarn left over. I can pick and choose what color I want to do for the heels, because I'll be able to just wind off and, or, you know, unravel to that point, and it'll all be good. I have to say, I'm finally getting used to knitting from the sock blank. No, it's not ever going to be my favorite thing to do, because working with this kinky, springy yarn is kind of a pain, but I'm used to it now, and it's not a big deal. The fabric that you get knitting from that, it's very nubby. I don't know if you can see that texture. You know, usually if you're knitting a stockinette sock, it's quite smooth fabric. But because you're working with that kinky yarn, it's a very nubbly fabric that you're getting. I'm sure once the socks are soaked and, you know, dried and everything, I'm sure that'll relax and the nubbiness will go away. I don't block my socks though, so it'll probably take for, you know, after I wear them and then finally wash them for that to happen. Knitting those on US 1.5s, which has been my standard sock size knitting needle. Standard sock knitting needle size until that last pair that I made, which was the after the harvest socks. I had gone down to US 1s and just increased my stitch count a little bit, and I like that fabric a lot more. I think that's what I'm going to do from now on, but since these have been on the needles for a while, I was obviously already using the 1.5, so it's all good. But those are coming along nicely. It's kind of been my purse knitting. I take it everywhere with me, and I had a big chunk of time to work on it this weekend too, so anyway. All right, I've got a couple new things cast on. I finally cast on for the Romy Hill knit along in the SSK group, and I cast on the Anvard boot toppers. So that's what they look like. They can either be worn that way, or they can be worn turned down. The little lace part turned down over the boots. They're really cool. They are basically, you're knitting lace in the first segment, and then the body of it is a cable pattern. I'm trying to get that corner picture there to focus. There we go. So it's lace, then a cable, and then you stop and you use other needles to knit another lace segment. Hello, are you going to refocus? No, why are you not refocusing? Oh, there we go. Okay. And then you knit another lace panel, and then you join it to the end of the cable section using a 3-needle bind off. I read that and I'm like, nope, that's way too fiddly. I am not doing that. So I'm modifying these. I knit the lace fine. I knit the cable pattern, although I'm not making that part as long as the pattern calls for, because I don't need them to be that long. I did 3 cable sections. It calls for 5, I believe. I may do 1 more. But when I initially did it, I knit it, and then I decided, you know what, I'm going to see what the lace looks like if I just knit it on to the end and see what it does. So I did that, and I bound it off, and it looked horrible. Absolutely horrible. Because there was it didn't scallop like it did going the opposite direction, just because of the way the stitches are. So I ripped that back out. And that was at the point that I decided, okay, I'll do one more cable repeat, make it just a little bit longer. And then I thought, you know what? Nobody's going to see the bottoms of these because they're going to be down in my boots. You're not going to see both the top and the bottom lace panel at the same time ever, really. I mean, I guess unless you were wearing them like as leg warmers, maybe. I don't plan to do that though. So I thought there is no reason to put myself through the hassle of knitting another lace panel. I'm just going to do ribbing. And that is what I'm going to do. I haven't done it yet, obviously, because I haven't gotten to that point in the reknitting process. But did I even show this to you? I don't even know if I pulled it out to show you. Here it is. So I've got my lace and I've got my cable. Isn't it wonderful whenever you have somebody talking about their knitting on a video cast? I could be showing it to you. Yeah. And so I'm basically at the point where I'm going to do the cable row again, and then I'll knit a little bit further, and then I'm going to do the ribbing, and it'll be done. Because, again, you're only going to see that lace at the top. Nobody's going to see the bottom. I am knitting this out of my Bonafide base, which is a DK weight base. It is in a red. I don't know which red because I dyed this a really long time ago for a different project. Didn't end up making that project, so it's been wound into a ball for quite a while. And I actually just kind of randomly came upon it. I kind of forgot that I had it. So I don't remember which red. I've got a few different reds and they're all very close. It could be scarlet or it could be my like real red color. I don't know. But I like it. I really love the red and I think it'll look very nice against jeans, which is probably mostly what I would wear it with. And you use US 5s and US 7s. US 5s for the lace, US 7s for the cable section. It's really a pretty simple knit. Like it's not, even the lace was not difficult and I didn't have any problems with it. So anyway, what's this? I don't know what that is. But, okay, sorry, I had random yarniness going on there. Yeah, so they're coming along. So I need to finish that one and then knit a second one and then I'll be done with it by the end of January so that it qualifies for the SSK knit along and I get tickets, extra points. What else? I also cast on what will end up being a long wrap kind of shawl and I have a big basket here. So do you remember like last January, I finally decided to call it finished, my garter stitch Afghan of Doom, my giant, yeah, that big monstrous thing that could be a runway cozy. When I bought all those yarns to make that, I bought them specifically to make that Afghan, but I also bought another lot of yarn because I wanted to make another one of those Afghans in like a neutral, natural colored palette. Yeah, I am so not making another one of those Afghans. Just not. But I like the yarns, and I didn't want them to go to waste, and they've been sitting in deep stash now for years. Like, a lot of years. Like, since 2008 years, okay? So I went down to deep stash down in my basement, and I pulled them out, and I decided I'm still going to do something sort of scrappy and sort of stripy and garter stitchy, but it's going to be a long wrap. Kind of think of the shape like a long rectangular wrap, sort of shaped like the clapetty, that kind of thing. But it's not going to have the drop stitches. I'm not doing the clapetty. I'm just using that as an example of the shape. But instead, I'm going to be knitting a shawl on the bias. It's a garter stitch shawl, knit on the bias, using 8 different yarns. And it will have the fringe on the edge. I'm doing it so that I'm doing 2 garter ridges with each color before switching, and I'm going to do them, I'm going to repeat the color order the same the whole way through, as opposed to that Afghan where I was just doing it randomly, changing the color every single row so that I would have fringe on either end, but those I was knitting back and forth. This, I can't do that, or I would have fringe the whole way around the thing, and that would look kind of funny, I think. But anyway, let me tell you about the yarns. I originally had 12 yarns that I'd purchased for this project. I weeded 4 of them out, one because it was sparkly and I didn't want sparkle in this, one because it was mohairy fuzzy and I don't want super fuzzy. I want to be able to see stitch definition in this. And 2, because they were very shiny yarns, like they had a lot of silk content in them or something, I can't remember now. But they didn't go with the look that I was going for, because I really want a nice sort of rusticy, just natural colors with texture, depth and texture. And that's why I'm not going to incorporate any other yarns, because all of these have that depth and texture that I'm talking about, which you'll see as I go along. So I'm going to go through these real quick. I actually have all 8 of these listed on the project page for this, with, you know, dye lot numbers, color numbers, and all that stuff. If you really want to know that, I'm not going to tell you now as we go through this. The first one is from Ella Ray. It's Palermo. I actually have 2 skeins of it, so this is what Ella Ray Palermo looks like. And I'm sorry, I'm sitting over this box. This is the basket that sits under my end table next to my chair in the living room. Which is what I had stored all of the yarn in for that Afghan while I was working on it. Unfortunately, my cat also thought it was a great place to sleep, and so all of that leftover yarn is pretty much just infected with cat hair. So I'm not letting that happen with this one. So it's all in a bag in the basket, and then I'm layering it with another piece of plastic and a towel. So if she wants to go in it, she can, but it won't affect my yarn. And she did. As soon as she hasn't been in this basket in a long time, but as soon as I swapped out the old yarn for this new yarn and did that, she was in it within a half hour. What is with cats? I don't know. Anyway, Palermo by Ella Ray. It's a single yarn, and it's a variegated, but it's really pretty. It's got a little bit of a halo to it. The second one is some Debbie Bliss Donegal Luxury Tweed. So it's got the tweedy bits that give it some nice texture. This is the tin. Those 2 are the only ones that I have 2 skeins of. All right, the next one, I need to look at this. I'm trying to tell them to you in order. The next one is some Rowan Felted Tweed. So again, we've got tweedy bits in there for texture. The next one is some Noro Silk Garden, which that looks like it's all one color, but it's not. It's a very mildly variegated, natural toned skein. Okay, the next one is Elspeth Lavold Silky Wool, because you know my infatuation with silky wool. The next one is some Joe Sharp Tweed, which I don't think I've used this. I had random balls of this over the years. It's a really nice yarn. I'm not sure if it's still made or not, but I had that. And the last 2 are cotton yarns, which is odd to mix cotton and wool, I guess, but I'm doing it because there's no rule saying I can't. This one is some Manos del Uruguay. And actually I have a second skein of this. They came together, but there was 2 separate skeins. So this is some Manos del Uruguay in a cotton, a natural cotton. And then this is Inca cotton, also in a natural color. These range in size from DK up to Aran weight, but the DK, well, it's the silky wool is the Elspeth Lavold is what is supposedly a DK. It's a light DK, so it's actually knitting up kind of light. You can see like this is a DK or an Elspeth Lavold silky wool stripe. It's definitely lighter than some of the others, and then this Inca cotton is probably the heaviest one I've got, so it's definitely also a noticeable difference, but I like it because it's different textures and it's just working up really cool. Again, this is not something I'm going to write a pattern up for, but in my project page I am writing all kinds of notes about how I'm doing it, and I will continue to update that as I do it. So if you want to follow along or ever want to try something, feel free. Okay, and I'm doing it on US 8. Even though I've got different weights of yarn, US 8 seems to be working out pretty well. So, let's see, on deck. Well, the one project that's on deck is for my hand spun along project, because the hand spun along begins tomorrow, Friday the 15th. And I am not going to be using the Shetland that I was spinning during the spin along, the natural colors spin along, mainly because I only have 4 of the colors done. They're plied, and I'm going to show them to you in a little bit. I still need to do the black. I haven't even spun it yet. Sorry, let me take a drink. But I'm not entirely sure what I want to make yet. I thought I was going to make a hap or like a half hap, but I'm not sure that I even want to do that. There's a Laura Ailer pattern out called First Point of Libra that I know at least one person is doing for the hand spun along with their Shetland set that they spun up. And I think that'll be beautiful. And I'm kind of tempted to do that too, but I don't have the contrasting yarn, like the main color yarn that I would want to use for that. So I'm not doing that. So that's all on hold. So instead plus I would like to work with some color now. Like I love the natural colors, but since I'm doing this kind of neutral, natural colored wrap thing, that's sort of enough neutrals for me. I need some color in my life and in my knitting. So I went to my big shelf of hand spun up there and I pulled this off. This is, I believe, the very first loop bullseye bump I ever spun. This was from when I was in her club, and it was called Red Letter Day was the colorway. Her club colorways, well, all of her colorways, I believe, are one of a kinds. But the club ones she does up specifically based off of a questionnaire that you fill out. At least that's how it was when I was in her club a couple years ago. So anyway, I did this. I spun it. It's Navajo plaid, so it's a gradient. I don't remember how much yardage I have. I'm sure I have it listed somewhere, but I'll tell you what. I don't care. I am going to knit myself a cowl out of this. A big, long, squishy infinity cowl. That's my plan. I think I'm probably going to just do the that vanilla bean kind of pattern. I did that with one of my mega base gradients last year that I use on my table whenever when I vend. And I really liked how it turned out. And it's big enough that I can like double it, triple it. And that's what I want to do with this. So that's my plan. It's going to be a cowl out of my hand spun. So that'll be I'll at least do this during the hand spun along. I may do another project too. I don't know yet, but this is definitely going to be my project. So that's on deck. The only other thing that's possibly on deck, and this is me being crazy because I know I'll never do this. I bought the Bonbon pattern this week, this little bunny, and I'm sorry, I can't even tell you who it's by because my printer would not print the pattern. I don't know why. It starts to print it and then it spits it out. It starts to print it, spits it out, and I have not been able to figure out why it's doing that. I'm sorry. I'm going to just look up this so I can tell you the actual designer. Bonbon. Oh, Susan Claudino. I should have known that. People were knitting these left and right last year, and I did not jump on that bandwagon. My thought was, oh, wouldn't it be cute to knit one of these for Emma and each of her 3 roommates for Easter? You know what I'm like with stuffed things, right? Especially if there's lots of legs and arms and ears and things that you have to fiddle with. I don't like fiddly stuffed things. That's just not my thing. This pattern is knit so that there is no seaming. Everything is knit together as you go, and you're stuffing it as you go. And I thought, well, maybe that wouldn't be so bad. But then I was reading through the pattern. I'm like, oh, it was giving me a headache just reading it. So there may not be bonbons in my future, but I have the pattern. So we'll see how that goes. That's probably not even an official on deck thing because I know it probably won't happen. Anyway, let's talk about spinning. I plied the last 3 colors of the Shetland that I have spun. You already saw the ecru, which is the one that I had the least of. Then I did the fawn, which that's turning out there. That's a better representation of it. Fawn and Morit, the brown. And lastly, I did the gray. As I said, I don't have the black spun, so obviously it's not plied. I love how this fiber turned out. Now the ecru is much softer than the other 3 colors. I don't know if it was bleached or what. I honestly don't know. It doesn't say on my supplier's page. It definitely feels different. It definitely spun a little different. It's a little heavier. These other 3 definitely all turned out to be sport weight. They're 2-ply. They're very even. My spinning was really nice on these too. And my plying was also very even, which makes me wonder if there isn't some merit to the fact that you're supposed to let your bobbins rest, your singles rest on the bobbins before you ply. Because I usually don't, or at least not very long. But these all sat for several weeks before I plied them. And I wonder if that did make a difference. It probably did, because who am I fooling? Nobody, you know. smarter spinning heads have said, you know, let your bobbins rest. So anyway, I'm really happy with how that turned out. The ecru, I had under 100 yards. The fawn, I had just under 200 yards, I believe. And the other two, I got a little over 200 yards. So I'm getting some nice yardage out of those. I'll be interested to see what I get. I should get over 200 yards from the black too, because I've got at least 2.5 ounces, if not more of that, I think. So anyway, that's yet to come. But I feel like I need to spin some color for a while because I'm getting a little burned out on spinning the natural colors right now. And I will talk a little bit more about my spinning plans in a minute. First of all, I also wanted to mention the natural colors, fibers, the spin along, the drawings that I did. I have now heard from all 3 of the winners. 2 of you I have not gotten back to because I just saw your messages this morning, but I will get back to you hopefully before you even see this. But those winners have all been in touch, so we're good there. The hand spun along begins tomorrow, January 15th. It'll run through February 29th. Again, there's a thread up in the 90% knitting group with all of the guidelines, and that's also the chatter thread. So anything you want to talk about the spin along, please use that thread. Tomorrow I will post a no chatter finished object thread for the hand spun along. So you'll have that to post your finished objects in. Please read the guidelines, and I will reiterate that part of the guidelines in the finished object thread. You're only creating one post. All of your finished objects, no matter how many hand spun items you do in the spin along, you're going to put in that one post. So that means everybody is going to be entered in the drawing or drawings at the very end one time, just for participating. This is about the fun, so please have fun with it, and don't focus so much on, you know, getting lots of items done or quantity, unless you want to. If that's fun for you, great, but that's not what this is about. Again, read through the guidelines. The main ones, it does not have to be your own hand spun. If you don't spin, you can use somebody else's hand spun that you bought or that was gifted to you or whatever, just so long as whatever projects you do are made with at least 50% hand spun yarn. It can't just be like one little row or whatever. Yeah, that's mainly it. Hashtags, I said it'll be hashtag is 90 KHSA 2016, which you definitely please use that on Ravelry and Instagram. Somebody on Instagram used hashtag handspun-along. That would have been way easier had I thought of that. I don't know why I had to make it more complicated, but you can use either one of those. I just like to be able to look up those tags and see what people are making. So anyway, along with the hand spun along is the drawing for the hand spun fiber or yarn that I spun. This is out of my hand spun stash, and I told you about it last week whenever I started the drawing. This is from some Crafty Puppy Lover, a bat that I got from her quite a while ago. It's a little over 100 yards, probably in the DK worsted weight area because it's not a consistent weight the whole way through. It's much an artsy kind of yarn because it's got some sparkle and some faux cashmere and a bunch of different fibers in it. It's fun though, and it's a really pretty color. And I did do the drawing, and I came up with number 33, who is Q Mama. That's Shelly from California. And I had asked, let's see if I can find the, yeah. The question was, what is it that you like about hand spun yarn? And her answer was, I like that it has actually gone through someone's hands, which is also, it's very cool. The fact that it's coming specifically from a person and their effort as opposed to, you know, a mill, which is nice too, especially smaller mills and everything. But anyway, so yay, thank you. Shelly, please get in touch with me with your mailing address and your full name, and I will get your yarn sent out to you. Alrighty, let's move on to 10%. Some of this is going to cross over actually into 90% and shop news probably. Oh, you know what? Well, yeah, actually, I'm just going to go with this as I have it in my notes. Okay, so not really a week in review because I don't do that, but it has gotten cold this week. We've got cold, we've gotten snow. I was shoveling, and can I just say how joyous it is to shovel snow on a paved driveway? First time in 22 years I've been able to do that. It's always been gravel. I got my driveway paved last year though, and it's wonderful. I like to shovel snow. I'm weird that way, but I really, really like shoveling snow on the pavement as opposed to gravel. And the other nice thing is I can now put salt down, because you cannot salt a gravel driveway because eventually it just turns the whole thing to mush. But I can put salt down on the asphalt and actually not have people fall and kill themselves coming down my hilly driveway. It's been fabulous. I love it. I love it. We did get enough that I decided to try using my snowblower on it that evening. This was Tuesday, I guess, Tuesday evening. Yeah, that did not go well. I'm not sure if there's something malfunctioning in this snowblower. I bought it a couple years ago. And I couldn't use it on the gravel. Someone mistakenly told me that I could and convinced me that I should have this snowblower, and I bought it, and I wish I could undo that because it was a stupid purchase as far as I'm concerned. I like my tractor and my plow. I really, really do, and I may end up using that eventually anyway. But I pulled the snowblower out and tried to get it to work, and it wouldn't. It was just like, it wasn't blowing, it was just thumping the snow right out. I think something's not correct with the auger. It's not working correctly. So that has to be looked at, which I got the manual out, and like, it tells you troubleshooting stuff. Some of that may require some assistance. It will require some assistance. So I'm sure Bill will be helping me with that because he knows that stuff. Anyway, yeah, I ended up, after a half hour of frustrating myself with it, I put it back in the shed, got my snow shovel, and within 15 minutes, I had my driveway basically shoveled. So that was crazy. Anyway, but it looks pretty, and it's going to warm up, I think, this weekend, so we'll probably lose it, and everything will be drab again, but that's okay. What else is going on? We lost David Bowie this week. He was a great musician, and I know a lot of people know him from the movie Labyrinth too, and really like him from that. Labyrinth is not one of my favorite movies. I know, please don't like flog me or anything for saying that, because I know a lot of people love Labyrinth. It's just, its weird level is beyond where I can go sometimes, and it's sort of creepy in some ways, but he did have a really cool character in that movie. Anyway, I love how, if you've looked at Ravelry's homepage, like the main page when you log on, they do have a David Bowie tribute collection of projects, which was pretty cool to look through, so check that out if you haven't seen that yet. But anyway, we'll miss you, David. I was going to talk a little bit more about goals. I know you're probably really getting tired of hearing podcasters talking about goals and resolutions and intentions and whatever have you. And like I've said before, and I think I said it last week, I don't really do, oh, I thought I did something to stop my recording, but I didn't. Okay. I don't know why this one button is highlighted. I'm not going to touch it. Anyway, I don't do resolutions, and I've said this, and I think I've talked a little bit in the past week or two, maybe about sort of goals, but not a lot of goals. But I was thinking this morning about the fact that I work really better if I have some concrete thoughts written down, and I was in that mode this morning, so I wrote them down, so I'm just going to share them with you. You may or may not be interested, and if you're not, feel free to fast forward. But anyway, and I think a lot of this is being driven by the fact that I am in my 50th year. I turned 50 this year, okay, which I'm fine with. I don't have an issue with age. Age is a number, you know. You're only as old as you feel. I believe that, and I feel really good. And I have to say, you know, like, so far, knock on wood, I don't want to jinx anything 2 weeks in, but this has been a good year. Compared to the last couple, so far things are going pretty smoothly, pretty good. Really hoping that continues. But I want to do what I can to make it a good year too. And so I think that's maybe where some of these thoughts and goals are coming from for me, just because I feel like, you know, I want to have things in order this year for what I want to do. And I want to be consciously working towards things that I want to do. I don't want to just say, oh, I kind of want to do this and then never have it happen. I want to be more intentional about stuff. So to that end, I would like to read more books, like actual paper physical books. I listen to a ton of audiobooks, and I love my audiobooks, but I actually want to read books because I've got lots of them, and I love reading. I was watching Amy Beth this morning, the Fat Squirrel, her most recent episode, and she was talking about how she's trying to read 15 minutes a day. And that's been a goal in the back of my mind for a while now. I haven't made it happen very often, but I want to. And I think that's a great goal because there's really not much of a reason that you can't choose to do something for 15 minutes a day, whether it's reading, whether it's knitting, whether it's spinning, whether it's meditating, whatever, or decluttering. Take 15 minutes a day and declutter some corner of your house if that's a goal for you, whatever. 15 minutes is a really doable block of time. Anyway, to that end, I have been doing some reading, and I can't remember if I already showed you this book or not. If I did, I'm sorry for repeating, but this is called The Book of Barely Imagined Beings by Casper Henderson. I just love the color. The cover is so cool. I saw this posted on Instagram. I think it was Tilly Trout who posted it, and I thought that looks like a really cool book, and I looked it up on Amazon, and I purchased it last year, and then it sat on my bookcase, and I finally pulled it out a couple weeks ago and started reading it, and it is very, very interesting. I mean, these are all actual creatures that exist that you just don't maybe know a whole lot about, so it's been very informative. I love nonfiction. Like, I like listening. It's funny, I never used to like listening to fiction on audiobooks. I kind of do now. I mean, I like both in both venues, but like right now I just want to read more nonfiction. So this is one of the books that I want to be reading. And the other one that I have started just barely is one that I got for Christmas. It's called Our Language by Simeon Potter. It's a clear picture of the English language as it is spoken and written in all its amazing variety. So it's kind of a wordy, a word geek book or a language geek book, but that's okay. Both of these books are books I have to actually be able to focus on when I'm reading, so that's why 15 minutes a day is probably about all I can manage, just because I tend to read at bedtime and I tend to fall asleep while I'm reading. So we'll see how that goes. But those are two books that I've got started, so I'll let you know a little bit more about those as I get through them. Other general goals. I would like to craft more gifts. And by that, I don't mean just knitting. I want to go beyond knitting. I am never going to be a hardcore seamstress or sewist. I'm not sure where the word sewist came from. I've always called people who sew seamstresses. Maybe that's a misuse of that word. Perhaps this book will tell me. I don't know. Probably not. But anyway, I would like to do some sewing. I love the idea of quilting, not big bed-size quilts, but I like doing like wall-hanging quilts. I've done a couple small projects like that in the past. I'd like to try doing those again. So that's a rabbit hole I might be willing to go down. I would like to try weaving again. I know. I have my loom. It's that 24-inch rigid-headed loom. I want to be able to weave smaller things though, and I'm really tempted to buy just like a 16-inch loom, like a small, like a cricket loom or something. Is that 16 inches? I don't even know. Not because I couldn't do smaller things on the big loom, but it takes up too much space. I want a smaller thing. So I might think about that. I don't know. Just other creative things. I just want to be able to make gifts for people that I love, people who I know will appreciate them, that are not knitted, because pretty much everybody has gotten a whole lot of knit stuff from me if they've known me for very long. But I still want to be able to make things. So that's a goal for me to explore. Pinterest will be my friend, no doubt. I would like to continue my purging and cleaning of this house because I've got a lot of extraneous stuff that I don't need, and I would love to be able to pass it on to better homes. If it's garbage, get rid of it. I can put it out for the vet's track, take it to Goodwill, give it away to friends if they want it. I don't even care so much about getting money for stuff at this point. It's like, I mean, unless it's something like, really like my elliptical downstairs, which I never use. I'd like to get a few bucks for that if I get rid of it. But other than that, I want to declutter. Clutter drives me crazy. And I know looking behind me here, you couldn't tell because that's a pretty cluttery area. There's way more than you can see right at the moment. It bothers me and I don't like it and I want to get rid of it. And I want things in order more. So that's a goal. I'm going to resume that process. I want to be a better planner in general, not in any specific way, but I want to think more, like think ahead more and be ready rather than scrambling at the end all the time. I'm much better at this business-wise, because I have to be, than I am in all other areas of my life. Um, but I'm trying to make better use of my calendar on my phone, because that's the calendar I use the most. I try to keep that always up to date. I use reminders all the time. I make notes for myself, like on sticky notes, everywhere else. I need to plan more. That's another goal. And kind of related to that is I would like to organize my life stuff more. And what I mean by that, and I hope this does not end up sounding morbid, because I don't mean it to be. And again, this may be sort of related to the whole age thing. I don't know. But you know, for the longest time while I was married, okay, I had a husband who knew about our bank accounts, who knew about our bills, who knew about, you know, how things in the house run, or what needs to be done when, or whatever. Well, I don't have that anymore. And I've thought about this a lot since then, since, you know, divorcing, and the fact that, you know, I'm single. Not that I don't have people who are close to me who couldn't know these things, but for the most part, they don't, because I take care of it all, right? You know, my kids are, you know, they're around, but they don't know about bank accounts and how to pay the bills. And I'm thinking about this more from the standpoint of, like, if I would suddenly get ill and be in the hospital for an extended period of time, or get hit by a bus, or, you know, not necessarily that I'm going to die, but that too, you know. Again, not trying to be morbid. I'm trying to be realistic and responsible. So I'm kind of thinking about, how can I create like an owner's manual for my life, so that basically just somebody, if somebody had to step in and take care of things, that all of the stuff that they would need in order to do that would be in one place. So that is a goal for me. I want to get things organized in that kind of fashion. And I know people do this all the time, but yeah, I don't know. That's something I need to think about, and I would like to be able to get that kind of stuff all organized so that I would just have better peace of mind. Because basically, the bottom line is, I don't want to leave anybody with a mess to try to sort through if there ever was an emergency. Because, you know, when you have a family, and I'm sure most of you have had experiences like this maybe, you know, if somebody is suddenly very sick or hurt or whatever, and you need to step in and help them, like, it can be really hard, and it just adds to the whole trauma and emotion of that situation if you're dealing with that kind of stuff on top of trying to take care of someone or deal with that kind of a situation. And I don't ever want to put somebody in that place. So in that respect, I just don't want to leave anybody with a mess, literally or figuratively, quite frankly, which is part of the reason why I want to clean stuff up more. So that's one of the things that I'm thinking about. If you have any ideas for that, feel free to share them in the episode thread, because I would love to hear them. And lastly, my general goals for life is, and really this is for life, not just this year, be more present. I just want to be more present in my moments. You know, it's so easy to get crazy, and I do, because I'm always multitasking. I'm doing one thing, I'm thinking about 5 other things constantly, you know, and I find myself having a conversation with someone, and I'll be focused on what they're saying for a little while, and then my mind starts to go over here to something, or over here to something, and I'm not giving them the full attention that they deserve, and that's wrong. I don't want to do that. So I really do want to be more intentional about being in the moment, and not just talking to people, but, you know, enjoying time with people, you know, my kids, my friends, my mom. I mean, I don't get to see her that often, but even just on the phone. I don't have to be multitasking while I'm on the phone with people. I could just sit and have a mindful conversation. So that is something I'm really trying to work on, to just be more mindful about being present, being in the moment, whatever I'm doing, focusing more on one thing instead of multiple things. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, those are my general kind of lifey goals right now. I do have some fiber related goals too, although they're not super specific. Well, one is. And again, business-wise, I'm much better at all of this stuff with my business because I have to be. It's my business. It's how I make my living. But I'm always, continuously trying to find new and innovative ways to run my business. Not just run it, like not just process-wise, but product-wise. I love to be able to offer new things to you guys, and I've got a couple things coming up that I think you're gonna like. And the one I especially cannot wait to tell you about, but I can't right now because it's not nearly ready. But it's coming soon. Trust me, in the next month or so probably. So that's always going on, business stuff. But beyond that, I talked about this last week. I want to continue knitting, but I want to knit the things that I want to knit, and I don't want to have any external guilt put on me about what I should or shouldn't knit, and I definitely don't want to have any guilt being put on me from myself about what to knit or not knit. If it's a work in progress and I've started it and I don't really feel like working on it, it's okay. I'm just not going to worry about it. I'm not going to stress. If I want to cast on 3 new things this week, I'm going to cast on 3 new things this week if I have the time. It doesn't mean I'll ever necessarily finish them all, but that's okay. Sometimes it's just the casting on that you need. You know what I mean? Yeah. Anyway, it's kind of like, want some potato chips, so you open a bag, you eat a few potato chips, and then you just throw the rest away because you're satisfied. No, you don't. You eat the whole freaking bag of potato chips. Maybe not all at one sitting. That was a really bad example. I couldn't even say that with a straight face. But you know what I mean. Like, sometimes casting on is just enough, and you realize, okay, that was all I needed, and then you take it out, and you're done, and it's fine. I want to do what I enjoy doing, but I want to do it on my own terms. So, and that's not really a big deal. It's not like I have anybody, threatening me, you will knit this. But like that cardigan, my antler cardigan, I've cast it on, it's started, and I've lost interest in it. I mean, in general, I still want to make it, but it's not what I want to work on right now. So I'm not going to work on it until the bug strikes me again, and that's okay. Organizing takes this office into consideration too. This office is going to get organized. It's going to be clean. You're not going to see all this clutter behind me at some point this year. It's going to be redone. I'd also kind of like to repaint. I think I mentioned that before, but that's not happening anytime soon. Lastly, and this is probably the most specific goal that I have fiber-wise, is I would like to spin my oldest fiber. I have this closet over here. You can't see it, obviously. It's just a regular clothing closet, but it is full of so much other stuff. That's, again, part of the organization. I need to clean it out. But on the top shelf of this closet are boxes of fiber that I purchased years ago. Like when I first started spinning, I would say probably, oh gosh, I don't know what year. I'm looking at postmarks because they're in the boxes that they were shipped to me in. Really? Is there no date on this? Huh. Interesting. Let me look at a different one. Maybe there's a date on this one. I'm going to say like 2008, 2000. Oh, this was from 2010. Because I think I started spinning in 2008. Like I got my wheel at the end of 2008, so 2009 was probably my big first spinning year. But I used to buy fiber a lot. And it's lovely fiber, but it's just been sitting in my stash, and I haven't spun it because I keep finding more fiber and new fiber and dye fiber and, Anyway, so I went through and I pulled the fiber out of the top of that closet, plus I had a little bit over here on my cubby shelves and everything. And I have my 6 oldest fiber stash, my 6 oldest fibers from my fiber stash, and they are going to get spun this year. So I'm going to show them to you, just because I can. This one is from New Hue Handspuns. It's her Bam Huey fiber. I honestly don't know if she's still in business. I haven't bought from her in a really long time. But New Hue Handspuns, she was on Etsy. And this is some merino bamboo in this really hot pink color. Now, I originally purchased 2 of these, and I did spin one up when I first got it, and I used it for a shawl that I was doing for a swap. I know, I did a hand spun shawl for a swap, but I think that was actually with the purpose of the swap now that I think about it. And it turned out beautifully, and I love this fiber. I've spun this, my Caricia shawl was a hand spun shawl out of this fiber too, and it's beautiful. I love it. So I'm going to spin that second bump of that up. I have a bat that is from the Sanguine Griffin, back when she was Sanguine Griffin. It's a Sir Bat, the Lancelot colorway. It's a bat that I've had forever. It's going to get spun. I have a huge basket full of this lovely pumpkin-y orange and green. It's got oranges and greens and golds in it. Very autumnal, really. This is all BFL from Briar Rose Fibers. Now, this is a 12-ounce bump. This one is, trying to dig down to find the tag, a 13-ounce bump. And then I think there was like a tinier little bump in here too. Oh, there it is. He just popped out. This actually might be off of one of these. So this is a little under 2 pounds, right? Like 1.5 pounds, a little more maybe. I want to spin this up because I think it would make a beautiful sweater. And I think I could probably get enough out of that to do a sweater too. So that is one of them. So that's 3 of them. And now coming back here, I've got more New Hue Handspun Bam Huey. This one in this beautiful aqua color. It's called Kingfisher was the colorway. But I've got 2 of these. So those will be among the to be spun this year. And then I've got 2 more things from Briar Rose. New Hue and Briar Rose were the 2 that I bought things from all the time back when I first started spinning. More aqua, but this is like an aqua and green kind of color. And there's 3 of these bumps, and these are Polworth from Briar Rose. And this is probably also about 1.5 pounds total in here. I'm trying not to shove them down because I don't want to compact them any more than they've been compacted all this time. And then the last one is also Briar Rose. Oh boy. More blue. And there's 2 big bumps in there, which again is close to 1.5 pounds each. And this is BFL. I love spinning BFL, so this should be awfully fun. But I'll have to rotate these colors since I've got 3 that are in the blue family, and then I've got the other 3. So maybe I'll go back and forth. I don't know. But those are things I would really like to get spun because seriously, they are my oldest fibers. And the gold and those 2 big boxes, those are like pretty large lots of fiber too. So that would be a lot of fiber to spin through in a year, I think, especially for as little spinning time as I have sometimes. So I don't know. Anyway, those are my mostly fibery goals. So we'll see how it goes. I'm not going to say keep me accountable because I don't want to be held accountable. I just want to have these goals. I want to look at them and hopefully I will stick with them, or they'll at least be a guide for me to go through my year. That's really all I wanted. Something that would help, give me a point of reference. Every once in a while I can check in on those and it'll be good. So, okay. And the other thing, and this was something that I thought would be kind of cool for all of us, you think about the news and you hear a lot of crap all the time. Okay, this is a presidential election year here in the United States, so we're going to be hearing all kinds of for months to come, frankly. And I'm not trying to be political. I'm just saying it is what it is every time there's an election, right? Along with all of just the other regularly occurring bad news. I am really trying to focus on good stuff. It's so easy to get bogged down in stuff and complain and feel sorry for yourself or depressed, and I'm not saying that in a way that like if you are legitimately like if you have depression that you shouldn't be, you should just be happy. That's not what I'm saying. That's an actual issue, a chemical issue, an illness. Not talking about that. I'm just talking about on a day-to-day basis, we can let ourselves really get sucked into the negative, and I'm trying to avoid that in my own life. And so I'm really trying to focus on positive things. And in the past, I've done like, happiness journals and, good thoughts journals and things like that, things I'm thankful for every day journals. But I just thought it would be kind of fun and useful. In the 90% knitting group, I'm going to start a thread called Tell Us the Happy or Tell Us the Good or something like that. where whenever you have something, and it can be very small and mundane, or it can be really good and big and fabulous, or anything in between, share it with us. I would love to see that. And I think it could help all of us. If there is something good that you notice in your day, share it with us. Just for the fun of it, and just to help bring more good into the world, because I really think the world can use more. So anyway, okay, shop news. This is going to be quick because there is no update this week. The next update will be on Saturday, January 23rd at 10 a.m. Eastern. It's probably going to be a smallish kind of update, but there will be more Love Bug and Love Bite. You guys both like both of those. Those sold out pretty fast in the last update, so thank you. I'm glad you like those two new Valentine's-y colorways. I will have them each on 2 different bases, and there'll be different bases than I had them on last time. So you can look for those. I'm also going to have more Pie Day yarn. I'm going to do the original Pie Day, a couple skeins, the second helping of pie, a couple of skeins, and I have a new pie oriented yarn. I've got a whole lot of variations in mind for pie, so there's going to be a new pie variation in the next update, so you can look for that too, as well as some tonal and variegated fingering, and possibly also lace. I haven't decided. Well, it will depend on what I have time to dye, but I'll have those up just because I haven't added that kind of stuff to the shop for a while. It's not always like the biggest seller. Not everybody looks for that stuff, but I wanted to add some anyway. Aside from that, I'm really busy dyeing for Indie Knit and Spin, which is the second Indie Knit and Spin. We just had one in November. We're doing another one in February, obviously the 6th, from 10 to 4 here in Pittsburgh. So if you're in the area, I really hope you can stop by for that. I'm dyeing up very different things for this show than what I had at the last show. I will still have my usual, some self-striping. I'm probably not going to bring quite as much though, because I'm trying to focus more on doing a lot of gradients, inversibles, kits. I'm going to be bringing color tracks kits. I'm going to be doing the skeins with the pattern with purchase for the Rambler. I'm going to be doing flurry kits. I have one new item that I've never offered in the shop, but I'm going to be offering for the first time at the show. It's probably going to be a limited availability item, but I'm sure there will be some I can bring home and show you. And if they're that popular at the show, I will dye up more for the shop as well, but I'll tell you more about that after the show. And fiber, I always take fiber to that show. So anyway, I'm getting ready for that. And I'm still waiting to hear from the 4th quarter finished object drawing winner for the Fiber Nymph Dye Works group. That was MMGRRR. You were number 22. That was the winner for the $25 gift certificate. I'm probably just going to message you at this point and let you know you won so I can get your gift certificate to you. Anyway, busy time. I love it though. I'm always thankful that I love what I do and that you guys make that possible for me to do it. So anyway, that is everything. I am going to go. I've got lots to get done today, and I want to get this podcast up. So I'm going to wish you well. Have a wonderful rest of your week and your weekend, and I will talk to you again next week. Bye.